Hey, guess what? This segment brought to you by our great friends at America First Policy. I love America First Policies. I really do. Because that's the number one political action committee supporting the president's America First agenda. That's why it's so cool. Now, President Trump, he's nominated Judge Brett Kavanaugh to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court. Judge Kavanaugh is one of the most qualified Supreme Court nominees to ever come before the Senate. I mean, ever. He served with distinction as a federal judge for more than a decade. His credentials are well known. Judge Kavanaugh has proven himself to be smart, to be fair, and to be a true conservative. As a Supreme Court justice, Brett Kavanaugh will protect our First Amendment rights to free speech and religious liberty. He will defend our Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms. He will uphold our Constitution as written. Judge Kavanaugh has the right qualifications to serve on the Supreme Court. Now it's up to the Senate to confirm him. Call your senators today and tell them you want to confirm Justice Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court. More information, go to americafirstpolicies.org. This message paid for by America First Policies Incorporated. Joining us now, speaking of America First Policies, he's a senior advisor. He's an MC. He's a guru. He's the man. He used to serve in the Trump administration, but we begged him to come out of that and to get into America First Policies. And he's doing a bang-up job. Plus, he just put a column out yesterday that I'm going to repost today. Joining us now, Curtis Ellis, back from vacation. Curtis, 2 weeks without you. Heart palpitations.
Oh my gosh!
Good to have you back. Nothing better.
It's worse than that horror movie scenario you laid out of the towering inferno. Blue wave. I see Shelley Winters in the upside down cruise ship swimming around. My God, the disaster that you didn't forecast, but speculated could happen in November if we don't get the vote out. Oh, my gosh.
Look, Curtis, I don't BS, right? If the Republicans don't win this seat in Ohio, it's just not a good sign because Balderson is a good candidate and O'Connor is an okay candidate. So it's not like the Pennsylvania situation with Lamb where Connor Lamb was just outstanding candidate, ran away from the Dems, and the Republican was basically weak. This is not that way. He's got the money. He's got everybody backing him. This is a seat that Trump carried the district 52%. I mean, Balder should win this seat, right?
Right. He should.
Now, if he does, I mean, it says the opposite to me. This is why I think this is the most interesting special election we've had. Swing district, but normally red, 90 days out. Trump carried it. Good candidate. I think if Balderson wins, and I think he is, I don't think there's a blue wave. I don't think there's any wave. I just think Republicans win. What do you think?
The latest, I was reading this morning, polling shows that, not talking about Ohio 12, but across the country, the Democrats have been counting on Latino and Hispanic support, and it's not showing up. It's not showing up in the polls. Latinos support President Trump. They are in favor of the wall. They're in favor of restricting immigration. They like, and as you know, many of them are Catholic, so they like the traditional values, and they're really not buying into the identity politics nonsense of the leftist Democrats.
Curtis, what about? And we're just getting wind of this, and I know you're a little closer to it than me. What about the number of African Americans who are now saying they are fleeing the traditional Democratic Party for the party of Trump? Is there any truth at all to that?
Oh, absolutely. Look, if you had the silent Trump voter among white people who were afraid to tell, and union voters who were afraid to tell that anonymous voice on the phone, yeah, I support Trump, that racist, degenerate, deplorable, xenophobe, if that, and we know that was a true phenomenon among white voters, imagine what it's like among black voters. So when you see in the polling you're showing growing support for President Trump, that is clearly being underreported. Clearly. I've talked to my black friends, and there is strong support for Trump. And among others, they tell me about their conversations with their friends who don't support Trump, and they say, you got to admit, I mean, he's saying what we know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And on the immigration front, it's like, and everything else, it's like, we know that mass immigration has hurt the people at the bottom of the employment scale. Mm-hmm. And in many, many cases, that is in the urban communities. Mm-hmm. And, why is everybody, Ann Coulter really has it right. As soon as the Democrats signed the Civil Rights Act and freed the black people to earn better wages, they immediately started bringing in new people they could pay crummy wages to, called illegal immigrants, right?
All right, so let's get to the new round of, tariffs. The Chinese, I don't get what the Chinese are doing here. They keep upping the ante in a game they can't win, right? We have more chips than they do because our chips are U.S. buying power and U.S. consumer. They don't have that. So they keep upping the ante. It's like you're in a poker game. Like, I'm in a poker game, and I'm playing somebody, and I've got a royal flush, okay? Mm-hmm. I've got a royal flush. I can't lose. Best I can do is tie, right? I've got ace down to whatever it is, 10, royal flush, and I got somebody that might have like 4 of a kind or a full house or something, and they keep making my bet and upping me. And I've got a bigger stack than they do.
That Trump was bluffing. They thought that Trump was bluffing in the first place. They thought he didn't really believe this. And they thought they could get to people like Gary Cohn, who used to be around Trump, and people like that on Wall Street, the usual suspects, the globalists, the same, and get them to, talk some sense into Trump, to convert Trump to the to their religion of phony, not so really free trade, but that's what it's called anyway. Because this is what happened with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton came in, and during the campaign, he talked about the butchers of Beijing, and we can't trade with these people, and we can't reward their bad behavior, and la. And the Chinese got Bob Rubin, the former head of Citibank, who became Treasury Secretary, and Gene Sperling, the Council of Economic Advisors, all these, pointy-headed academics who Bill Clinton populated his administration with, and got them to talk sense into the guy. Free trade is good, and it's good for everybody, rising tide, build a bridge to the 21st century, yada, yada, yada. And they got Bill Clinton to change his policies and basically, bend over for China. So they thought they would be able to do that again, and that's what they think is going to happen. They think they're going to get the I hate to call them. I won't call them mainstream. To get the globalist economic advisors to get Trump to back down on the tariffs. Ain't going to happen.
Right.
Folks. If you're listening, China, not going to happen.
You're
holding a losing hand here. You're in the poker tournament in Las Vegas. You should fold right now. It's about time. It's interesting that you've got all of these people screaming about election interference by Russia, right? And now they're cracking down on Facebook, and all the big tech companies are like throwing free speech out the window and shredding the First Amendment. We've got to protect us against hate speech, and and the pretext is Russia's interference in our election, because they bought some Facebook ads, some really stupid Facebook ads, right? Saying Satan backs Hillary Clinton. I'm sure that converted a lot of votes, right? That's why all the Catholics voted in great numbers in Pennsylvania to elect Donald Trump because of that Facebook ad, I'm sure. Just kidding, folks. But everybody's up in arms. We can't let Russia interfere in our democracy and subvert our democracy. Yet China has blatantly, and everybody acknowledges, they have selected their tariffs to impact the swing states. They're putting on soybean tariffs to affect the farmers in Iowa. They put tariffs on oranges. Where oranges grow? Florida, a swing state. And this is reported widely. tell you how many gallons of barrels of ink have been spilled by the New York Times and the Washington Post and everybody else. Will the farmers turn against Trump because of the tariffs from China? Will Florida go the other way because of the tariffs on oranges? And nobody says a peep. This is blatant election interference by China. Look, the World Trade Organization has very clear criteria for when members can impose tariffs. Mm-hmm. If there's a surge in imports that is disrupting their domestic labor markets, if there's dumping, below market value products are being dumped in your country by one of the trading partners, you can put a countervailing duty on that to bring the price up to market value. If there's national security implications, oh my gosh, we need to make Bebelitzers, and this import of Bebelitzers is undermining our ability to make national security Bebelitzers in our own country. Put a tariff on the import of Bebelitzers so you can still make them at home. These are all allowed under the World Trade Organization. All the tariffs the Trump administration has put in place came after very careful investigations by the United States Commerce Department, and they found that the light-emitting diodes, for example, are being subsidized by the Chinese government, and that's illegally subsidized, causing these light-emitting diodes sold into the United States to be sold below market value. Therefore, we will put a tariff to correct this imbalance, right? Hundreds of products. I can't tell you the thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of investigation that went into determining where we're going to place the tariffs on Chinese products. Well, when Beijing decided to put tariffs on, they didn't do any of that. They just said, well, how can we influence the electorate in America? And
right.
That's what we're going to put a tariff on.
Right.
And everybody acknowledges that.
Right.
But you don't hear even a shrug, not even a, oh my God, not even a, well, that's not really right. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, cops will tell you when they go to answer domestic disturbance calls, right? You got a couple arguing with each other. The cop shows up. They stop arguing and they start attacking the cop. They said, "Hey, butt out. Yeah, we have a disagreement, but it's none of your business. Get out of here."
Exactly.
You don't see that with the Washington political class. No, we don't agree with Trump's trade policy, but we really don't think it's right for China to come in and try to screw with our elections. No, these people in Washington is like, well, I see an advantage here. I think I wish China would spend another $200 billion to influence our election because I really hate Donald Trump.
I mean, you're right. I mean, comparing that to, $130,000 in stupid Facebook ads that had no impact on anything. It was a joke compared to what China is trying to do. And they really are trying to influence the elections by aiming tariffs that are going to affect certain states that could affect the outcome of the election. But they keep one-upping this guy. And you're right. They expected him to fold, and you absolutely nailed it, Curtis. I mean, they expected, look, they are students of history. They go back and they say, okay, eventually they know that the people that run the government is not the officials in the White House or Congress. They know it's Goldman Sachs, Lower Manhattan, the gangster banksters. They figured they'll eventually get this off the table. There'll be enough pressure put on. They'll threaten the donor money. They'll do what the big banksters do and what Goldman Sachs does. Because, look, Goldman Sachs has dominated our government for how many administrations? Like, it doesn't matter who's in there. Goldman Sachs is running the government.
Right.
It doesn't matter, including Trump, right? Goldman Sachs runs the government. So the Chi-Coms figure, eventually they'll wait it out, and the Lower Manhattan crew will get to the various officials, and they'll infiltrate it, and this will all go away, and we can get back to our 2030 vision of dominating all of the futuristic industries or whatever they're trying to do.
Right, exactly. That's what they thought. They played it wrong. There was a very interesting story in the press the other day about how there's rumbling within the Chinese establishment that Xi Jinping has played this all wrong. Look, Deng Xiaoping, the guy who set China on this road of development and, welcoming in foreign capital to develop its industries, he said China has to hide its strength. hide its power and hide its intentions. And this, again, is classic Chinese military strategy. You don't show your intentions. You play humble, you play meek, and, be yielding, and don't tell everybody you want to take over the world. Don't tell your enemy you're going to attack him, right? And you're supposed to hide your strength. And Xi Jinping hasn't done that. He talked about the China dream, and we're going to be proud and be, strong members. And they were saying that in this story that the Chinese think tanks have been very disparaging toward Xi Jinping, that maybe he's played this wrong. And by being so bold and out front, he has now raised the opposition, and that he did a big crackdown on the corruption in China and his domestic political enemies, and cut off a lot of foreign travel. So the Chinese think tank people have not really they've been isolated, and they're in a bubble, and they don't really understand the depth of opposition to China that has grown in this country, and they don't really understand and have a good read on where President Trump is coming from. And so that's how they played this so wrong. They really don't understand that President Trump is dead serious about this, and there are many people around him now, and not just his close advisors like Peter Navarro, but there's many people in the Pentagon and many people in the Commerce Department and throughout government that understand that China is a major threat to us and must be countered and must be stopped.
And the only reason we got there is because this president has been steadfast in his view and not backed down and not cowered to Goldman Sachs as everybody else did, including President Bill Clinton. We're out of time. Curtis Ellis with us. Hey, Curtis, good to have you back. 2 weeks vacation or a week, whatever you were on. It seemed like forever. It's good to have you back. We'll have you on again this week to get your take on the election results coming up. Curtis Ellis, America First Policies. Thanks for being with us.